Welcome to Conversations with Creatives. I'm your host, Carol White-Llewellyn, and today I have the privilege of interviewing Bleu from the Rochester Contemporary Art Center. Bleu got his MFA from the Visual Studies Workshop here in Rochester. He went on to become an adjunct professor at the University of Buffalo and a lecturer and instructor at the George Eastman House. Since 2007, he has been the executive director and curator of the Rochester Contemporary Art Center. Welcome, Bleu.
Thanks.
So I'm curious, you've got your degree in art and had a lot of experience in different areas as a lecturer and instructor at George Eastman House. At what point did you decide that you wanted to become the executive director, curator of the Rochester Contemporary Art Center? How did that come about?
It was sort of just a natural progression. My own artwork was quickly becoming about bringing people together, staging events, and larger kind of campaign-based projects, which involved working with other artists, working with other people's vision, other contractors, other designers to execute different parts of a project. So I had long since moved away from kind of a studio practice, so that just translated very well and very easily into curation. And then the opportunity to get involved with Rochester Contemporary Art Center came about, and it just seems like a natural progression looking back.
So we've worked a little bit together on this upcoming show, Question Bridge, which we'll talk about later, but I'm just curious, I've seen the variety of roles you have there, everything from fundraising to selecting the pieces to marketing to actually mounting the exhibits. I'm curious, for a contemporary art center today, what are the biggest challenges that you face as the curator, executive director, and the art center itself?
Well, I think one of our biggest challenges is, in a way, about our success, and that is that we might be taken for granted. We've had a lot of growth and a lot of progress, and we're part of a rich tradition of these smaller contemporary art centers around the country. And we're one of the few that's still independent, not associated or affiliated with a university or a college or another museum or perhaps another set of other cultural organizations, as is somewhat common around the country. So we've stayed independent and we've stayed small, and we have a really long history, and we've grown a lot in the last few years, and really, long since moved beyond a kind of operating that you sometimes see at very small, fly-by-night nonprofits, that some have a really wonderful mission, but they can't quite get the administrative and the fundraising and some of the other necessary professional pieces together. And we've done that. We've grown a lot, and we've professionalized and succeeded in many ways. So in a way, I think one of our risks right now is that some of our supporters who stepped up long ago when the organization really was in dire straits maybe have turned some of their emergency support towards other organizations. So I think that one of our challenges now is making sure that we're engaging with everyone equally all the time. We certainly need continued and ongoing support as we continue to grow and build the organization long beyond a tragedy moment.
One of the things I was really impressed with the other day when I was there was the whole, the one wall that you've got up there talking about the fact that you're actually going to be purchasing the building. You're working toward purchasing the building, paying off the mortgage, and for a small nonprofit, that's quite an accomplishment.
It is. No, it feels great. It's a big step for us. So about two years ago, we bought the building, and now we've been running this capital campaign. It's compared to other capital campaigns in the city, it's very modest. And so my goal with that campaign was to put forth something really straightforward so that people want to sponsor a mortgage payment, they know exactly how much that mortgage payment is, down to the 97 cents. And I think many people are surprised that mortgage payment isn't that much more than the average family maybe not in Rochester, but the average family around the country. So it's not a huge number. To make a major contribution to a small organization like us, it's not hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, you can really make the difference at a small organization for a lesser number. And yeah, like you said, it's a huge step for us to solidify the base there. And it's not like we're building a whole new RoCo East or taking on some brand new mission or brand new direction. We're really taking the conservative approach, which is buy this building and pay it off in 4 years and be totally set and stable and solid, so that we can look forward and continue to grow our programming, in an incremental and careful way, and putting our, grant funding and membership funding and other revenue toward our programming, toward support of artists and community building initiatives and collaborations with organizations like RCTV.
You have quite a diversity of different types of exhibits that you do. What's the process in deciding an exhibit?
There's no real single process for it. We take in proposals, and we do so once a year for a window to kind of put everyone on the same page. That's a kind of a standard submission process for museums and galleries. And then from those, we work to curate exhibitions that are diverse across, say, 2 to 3, 4 years of programming. So that's what matters most to me. As you say, I'm glad to hear you say that you think the programming is diverse, because that's what we want. If one person likes everything that we do, we failed. I mean, that's not our role. I mean, there may be other organizations that you might think of in that way, but our role as a Contemporary Art Center should be to surprise people, to show things that only a few people like or had never heard of, or maybe in some cases don't actually think belongs at a Contemporary Art Center. And I think we should be doing that regularly. And across a couple of years of programming, I really try to strive for diversity in terms of media, in terms of concept, in terms of geography, where the artists are from, the artists' backgrounds, all those different elements. Yeah.
Great. And now the exhibits run for about 6 weeks, each one. Okay.
Typically, we have 6 major exhibitions per year. We do a number of other smaller projects, multi 3, 4, 5 day projects, public art initiatives, sometimes video screenings and things like that. We have an ancillary exhibition space upstairs, which is just coming online now for this coming year, for us to host student groups and other community-based exhibitions.
Great. We're going to go to break now. When we come back, we'll talk more about the